Hey, how you doing? Nice to be with you again. I just had a few things I wanted to let you know about. I talked about the water cure on last Saturday's show from a guy named Dr. Batman Gelage, an Iranian who spent time as a political prisoner in an Iranian prison. And he's a medical doctor, and he was trying to cure people in the prison of diseases that they were dealing with, and all he had was water. And he discovered that drinking much more water than you're used to had some really positive effects on himself and the other prisoners. And I started really thinking about that. I've been looking at it quite a bit in the last week. And in relation to some of the other interesting guests that have been on our show, like Dr. Cousins, Dr. Clement that I've already met, Dr. Morse, who was on our show recently, and Wigmore, and Arnold Arrett, who were earlier health teachers. Really interesting how the ideas in the water cure relate to what these guys all said. For example, Dr. Batman Gelage with the water cure noticed that a lot of cases of type 2 diabetes were being totally cured permanently with drinking a lot of extra water and a decently good diet. And Dr. Cousins had cured, in fact, he wrote a book called There Is a Cure for Diabetes, and he had demonstrated the cure of type 2 by putting people mostly on green juice and juice fasting and raw food, which happens to be mostly water. And it made me start thinking about what's the connection here. So on the 3rd of May, which was Thursday, about 6 days ago, I decided to do an experiment myself, since I'm a researcher in these things. I have been basically an experimental holistic health research scientist since 1965, which is a while. Some of us are just really slow learners and takes longer to figure things out, I guess, than others. But I decided to try this experiment by basically tripling my water intake every day. Spring water in glass, Mountain Valley, that's the best I could get. And see, I noticed that Dr. Batman Gelage helped a lot of people, no doubt, really probably saved a bunch of lives and helped people in the long run on a permanent basis. But I watched some of his videos. I couldn't talk to him in person because he's no longer physically with us, but I think he died in 2004. Watching him give his speeches, he clearly was missing big pieces. He didn't, and this is not an ego thing, it's not a criticism, but he didn't really look that good as he aged, and of course almost none of us do. But so I thought, what are the pieces of this protocol that he is missing besides the discovery to drink more water? And I thought, well, raw food decreases water requirement, and I've been on 100% raw food diet for years, but even with the raw food diet, I thought you could still benefit from drinking more water. So I'm really observing myself closely as I do this, as I do all the time. And I know some people mentioned that last video I did, which was on something about Alex Jones, my face was really stressed and lined and crunched more than usual. So anyway, my face was very stressed and lined. I'm watching it too, and I had just eaten a bunch of nuts with coconut oil, which I never use coconut oil, and it reminded me why. But even the nuts now I'm questioning, because I want to reverse even the minute signs of aging. And I noticed, as you go along and you get cleaner and you get better nourished and more raw food, of which I do 100% now all the time, you get less tolerance for what the body doesn't want, because you're more aware of it, and the body gets attached to what you've been helping it with, and you're kind of moving along a continuum. You start from the crummy diet that you ate when you didn't know any better, and you gradually get rid of the processed food, and more the cooked food, get rid of the meat, which we're not adapted to at all. Sorry for the paleo people, and most of the ketogenic people eat meat too, but what I found is that we're not really designed to eat any kind of meat, animals, fish, or chicken or other birds, for many reasons. You can live on it, and temporarily you can get really beautiful condition if you eat that and steamed vegetables and rice and stuff like all the trainers of the movie stars do, but it's temporary and there are health issues that go with it. So I was looking for what can you do to go better but not have some of the problems that the raw vegans and the fruitarians have when they do it long term. So now I'm just doing just water and a small amount of fresh fruit, and I want to see what happens with that. Oh, and raw milk, also organic raw milk, which the vegans would excommunicate me for, but I have to think outside the box. I'm not going to hurt animals, and you can do the milk in a way that doesn't abuse animals at all. In fact, they're in good shape and they're good for the environment, not like the UN says they destroy the atmosphere and all this nonsense. That's not true. So this clue of the water cure, it's like the latest piece. So I'm radically increasing water, but I'm down to just fruit and raw milk, and if I get rid of the nuts, which I have for the last few days, that's about it. But I'm really focused on not falling into the problems of the most of the long-term raw vegans. They get really frail. You hug most of them and they feel like a bird, kind of not solid, and they lose most of the muscle mass. And I've talked to some bodybuilders that have tried to get really strong on 100% fruit or raw vegan long-term, and they haven't been able to do it. So I still believe that you can do this without meat, without cooked food, without any of that stuff. I don't want to become weak, cold, and unstable, psychologically, like Monarch and others have talked about. So I'm watching things really carefully. My face, lines on my face, my neck. I think this is extra fat in the face. Same thing on the gut and abdominal area. Really watching that, but also my endurance, strength for workouts, energy, mental clarity. So I'm going to let you know how it goes, okay? Because I think you might be able to use part of what I find out that might help you. So I'm going to start sharing more of my research. I'm doing this research 24/7. I don't even eat unless it's part of the research or other things that I do. I work all the time, 7 days a week, but in the background, I'm always doing this and observing. And you have to observe yourself when you do it, not other people as much. So I'll let you know how it goes. Remember, our Sunday guest shows are still really great. We're having incredible people on those shows. That's on blogtalkradio.com/Lost Starts Radio. It also gets posted on this YouTube channel and other places. And then on the Saturday Healing Club, those are closed sessions, but you can get in and find out about that at lostartsradio.com/club. If you've got personal issues you want to look at, not medical advice, we're not giving any of that out because we're not medical at all, but health information, you want to get some that you could use for personal health and life situations, check that out, lostartsradio.com/club. And the research on the real age reversal, which I'm really serious about. I want to see what are we capable of doing, not looking good for your age and still looking terrible, basically. I don't want to do that. And most of the people that are doing this and they're older, they look old. They just maybe not quite as bad as they would if they were eating processed food. But I think we could do way, way better. And I'm determined to find out if it's possible. So I think it is. Anyway, stay tuned for more, and I'll talk to you shortly. Thanks for listening. Bye.